What's going on, guys? Maul with Jackalmen Games here with FortuneVoyager.
How's it going, guys?
We are here with our very first Argent Saga video, and this is kind of just a tutorial going over the very basics of the game. Not necessarily gameplay, but just explaining what each set of cards that you use during the game are and do. We're going to be using my deck as an example that I'm playing with. First of all, Fortune is his name is AKA James.
I think it's the other way around. James, AKA Fortune, but yes.
Yes. What are you most excited for about Argent Saga after your testing and just the things you've seen with it?
This is going to sound super lame, but honestly, the art, it's all amazing. Mechanics-wise, it's a very back-and-forth swingy game. So Eric has already gotten a ton of reps in on the game, has played a lot of it. Currently has a deck built with the most broken combo in the game. And even when going against that, like, I still feel like, oh, if I had another turn, I would have won. Like, in the probably 6 or 7 games that I've played, the ones that I've lost, I've never felt like, oh, well, that was a blowout and I couldn't do anything. So that's probably my biggest positive about the game right now.
Right.
One last thing to say, another super big positive is that it's a brand new game.
Right.
So literally all that's out right now is the starter decks, and the first set, it's like 119?
126 in the wave at the actual booster box set, and then a lot of the structure deck cards are only in the structure deck.
Right. So somewhere around 126 to 150 maximum cards, even if you're that high.
Yeah. We may be off, but you know.
I might try and put a real number on the screen once we figure out what it is. But anyways, The point is that there's not a crap ton of cards, so like you can jump into this right now while it's new and have some fun. Right.
If you were a big fan of Force of Will, or there's some key forge mechanics in here, but it's a lot like Force of Will, mechanic wise, with shards, with not having actual, like, you have a combat phase and then you can go back and forth between your main and combat and things like that. A lot of Magic players play, a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh players play, a lot of Dragon Ball Super players play. It's a really healthy environment, really healthy card game because of the creators. The lead designer is Jeff Jones from ARG, who was really popular and a really great player, one of the best players in Yu-Gi-Oh for some odd years. And you know, him designing it, he kind of knows for that Yu-Gi-Oh barrier of, like, whenever things kind of tilt over the scale of brokenness, to not let it go down that path. So I'm really excited about it. At Gen Con, I played in multiple tournaments, pretty big tournaments, and I just fell in love with it overall. But yeah, so we will actually be posting a lot of gameplay videos with this special table from us. Where if you guys would like to actually see hand cams so you get hand knowledge, we can be putting videos out with that too, with our special table. You'll be able to see our hand and our choices and stuff like that. But yeah, now without further ado, we'll actually get into the different types of cards that are used within the game and kind of how certain keywords work. Okay guys, so the first thing you have to know about this game is that you start out, well, there's two things. One, you have a champion and a spirit. So whenever you're building your deck, this is your main color. Mine is dark. Mine is, right now, is Urgon the Tragic Gargoyle, and he has 2 abilities on him. And then my spirit, which you always have in your deck, or not in your deck, but underneath your champion, is your secondary color for your deck. You can play monocolored, or you can play dual colored. But there's a actual number in the top left that we should be bringing up on the screen for you to look at. Like Kite says, there's 8, so that gives you the ability to play 8 air cards or green cards in your deck. So that's a good little splash. People, like, you might not think, because I didn't think at first that those 8 cards really mattered, or that was a big that would, like, be really meaningful. But boy, was that wrong.
I mean, your deck size in this is 40 to 60? So when you can splash 8 cards from another deck, that's almost a quarter of your deck.
Yeah, it's pretty insane. But basically, you're trying to protect your champion. Is a simple way. And the big part is your towers. Now, you have one of each element. You have a dark tower, a wind tower, a fire tower, a light tower, and a water tower. They each have a number at the very top. The water, light, and dark have 1500 power, and the tower of fire and tower of air both have 1000. Now, whenever you start the game, you reveal to your opponent that you have one of each element, and then you turn them face down and you shuffle up. And your opponent can shuffle them if you want to, and then you put them face down, and neither you or your opponent know where they are. The next objective of the game is trying to build board state, which you only have 5 zones for units that you can place in front of each tower, and they have to be in front of the towers because there are how do you put it, James? Position-based
mechanics. So, for instance, there's one card, I believe, in green that will affect cards directly in front of it.
Yes, there is a 4-drop guardianship that states that the unit that's in front of it cannot attack, and so that's very important to learn. So yes, whenever you attack at a tower, they normally get flipped up. And if it's destroyed, usually the power has to either match, which is in this case is air, 1000, or be more than to destroy it. I would flip it upside down. It had been destroyed, and then each tower has an ability. When the air tower is destroyed, you may bounce up to 2 units on the board to the owner's hand. That could be your units or their units. It's not a mandatory ability because you can choose 0. It is the only tower that has a that you may choose. The light tower will bring, whenever it's destroyed, you get to bring a 2000 power Guardian Knight token onto the board, which is this guy right here. And we'll get into that later. Whenever the water tower is destroyed, you will be able to draw 2 cards from your deck, so it kind of gives you a hands up, trying to refill your hand to try to get you back into the game. When the fire tower is destroyed, you get to destroy target unit. So if it has a really big nasty on the board, you can get rid of it. And then the tower of darkness, when it's destroyed, it allows you to look at your opponent's hand and choose a card and discard it. So basically, after all of these are destroyed, it will look like this, but you do not lose the game yet. To lose the game, you have to take one more attack to you that cannot be blocked. So if you had a guardian or somebody like that, which we'll get into that mechanic shortly, you don't lose yet. But if you have nothing out here that can stop any attack, you don't have any cards in your hand that can stop any attack, your champion will be defeated and you lose the game. So far, the mechanics when it comes to the towers, I believe that I really enjoy it. It makes it to where you never really feel out of the game, because say if somebody builds a ginormous board state, they kill my wind tower, I get to bring those problems back to their hand. They have to spend turns to play them again, and it gives me a chance to get back into the game. Same with the white tower, giving you a defender. Blue tower drawing you cards, destroying a unit, or getting knowledge of their hand to try to pick out something I'm having problems dealing with. Do you have anything to input towards towers?
No, it's pretty clear cut. But that does kind of feed into, like you were saying, the entire reason that I think this game is can swing back and forth, because you can be behind and then just jump right back ahead if they hit the wrong tower in sequence.
Right. And sequencing is really, really, really big in this game. It can really change whether you just flat out whether you win or lose. Alright guys, so the first thing that we will go over after the towers is your shards, your shard deck. You should have 10 shards in your deck. In your shard deck. A lot of them will be basics. Like mine, these actually came out of the water structure deck, so they look a little different. But basically they just exhaust for basically if you're a Magic player or a DBS player, it's 1 energy and or 1 mana. And the way that works is, put these out of the way. You shuffle up all of your shards off your opponent to cut, because you do have special shards in the deck. And then each turn you untap, you draw a card, and then you play 1 shard, kind of like in Hearthstone. Yep. Each turn you gain an energy or whatever they would call it. What is it called in Hearthstone?
I think it's just straight called mana, but it's been a couple years since I've actually played. But yeah, that's another really good mechanic about this game, is that it has a curve that really helps eliminate things like being mana screwed for Magic players.
Yeah.
Like everyone who's ever played Magic knows the worst possible feeling is not drawing in any mana until the end of the game.
Or in Pokemon, just all energy. Like it's the same thing. Like you don't want to do it. But so this game completely eliminates that with shards. But there are special shards, which I only have 1. I need to get more. But like this one, my Zephyr Crystal. It usually special shards are in coordination with your spirit. Sorry, pretty late at night, my brain's like lagging. So it says if your spirit isn't air, this comes into play exhausted. So it uses the term exhausted because tapped is patented or whatever. And everyone kind of knows what that means. So since mine is always kite, it comes into play unexhausted. And so basically it produces the same as a normal one would, just 1 generic. But it also has an extra ability where I can exhaust it and pay 2 more and destroy an augment, which we'll get into what an augment is here shortly. But basically that's it when it comes to shards. It's pretty simple. Each turn you gain 1, whether it's special or normal, just whatever's on the top after you shuffle. And at the beginning of your turn, everything untaps or unexhausts. The last but not least, is the different types of cards in your deck. There are 3 types. There's an augment. There is, just make sure you guys can see it. There's a unit, and there's a spell. 3 types of cards in the game, and I'm going to go actually over each keyword that I'm aware of at the moment. So an augment is, say like if you're from the Magic scene and you know what an artifact is, it's kind of the same thing. It goes underneath your spirit, or just kind of to the side over here somewhere, wherever you like to put it. Some people put it in weird places, but basically you can have as many augments as you want. Some say gear next to them, and those just mean it's an equipment that goes on your character. Otherwise, it kind of goes to the side. They'll have exhaust abilities or revive abilities. Everyone can kind of understand what an exhaust ability is. You have to exhaust it to be able to resolve said ability. But we'll go over arrive triggers. Arrive triggers are, if you're from the Magic community, cast triggers. So as soon as you play it from your hand, it goes immediately onto the stack. So we come from a Star Wars Destiny game where there's not a stack, there's a queue. And I know in a lot of games like Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Magic or Pokemon, or not really Pokemon because that doesn't really think, but just Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh! Those are the 2 big ones. It goes on the stack.
So the difference between a stack and a queue is, in a queue-based game, if I have an effect that triggers another effect, that effect goes at the end of the queue and everything resolves in the order that it was activated. Stack-based games like this in Magic, everything goes onto the stack, and whatever the last ability to be put onto the stack is, activates first.
Right. And so what we're going to be doing is going over the arrive triggers. So say for instance, arrive. Usually it'll have a parentheses next to it, and all it says is when this card enters the field zone. For instance, this Golem of Jealousy. It says if you control another Golem card, you may draw 1 card. That's it. But no matter what, it can, unless the card specifically says to negate that ability, it generally cannot be negated. Then we have our spells. We have 2 types of spells. we have a regular spell that just says spell, and that one can only be used on your turn, kind of like a sorcery in Magic or a normal spell card in Yu-Gi-Oh. And say like Dust Strike says Instacast, so that's like an instant spell card in Magic, and also in a quick play spell card in Yu-Gi-Oh. That means it can be played during yours or your opponent's turn. So that's really good. And that's really it with the spells. They're very simple, very 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 straightforward. A lot of the times in this game, it's very if you read it, it's basically how it's like written on the card.
Yeah.
People kind of just tend to overthink. When it comes to anything in this game, I'll go ahead and put these back out here real quick. There are costs, like we were talking about Shards and Mana Curve. As you can see in the top left corner of each card, there will be a number. That number, say like on Philosopher's Stone, in the top left, you'll see that it says the number 2. That means it costs 2 shards. And that's pretty simple. It's the same as in Magic or any other energy-based game like DBS or anything like of that sort. And you'll be able to hit it on curve. There's ways to cheat things in, etc., etc. That's pretty simple. Now with the rest of the triggers, get these out of the way. There are a couple more keywords like Destroyer. This guy's a 7-drop. He has 5,000 power, named Patriarch of the Golems, and he's a legendary. This is actually a rarity that I'm about to go over with you. So, this guy is an Argent rare, a Patriarch of Golems. You can only play one of said named Argent rare in your deck. You can play any Argent rare in your colors, like Philosopher's Stone is one as well. So I can only play one Philosopher's Stone in any black deck. I can only play one of him in any black deck because he's a legendary. So I do like that. I do think that that's balanced in the game because like the best card in the game, it's in here somewhere, is Sylphia. If people have been checking out the game, they should. Here she is. If this game did not have that, I think this game would be like way broken. Say like this card right here, Sylphia. This is a 4-drop. And basically when she arrives, I choose even or odd to my opponent, and all of those said costs go to the bottom of his deck of units. And then I can just put her back in my hand and keep playing her every turn. Now if I had more, like I have to see this one card out of 43 cards, because my deck is 43 cards. One card out of 43 cards to get there. But if I had 3 out of 43, it's kind of crazy.
A little bit easier.
A little bit easier. It's a little bit easier. But he has the keyword Destroyer. Now, Destroyers are on a lot of your top-end units, because that's what they're called, units in this game. And basically what it is whenever they declare an attack on tower, they get to destroy 2 or attack 2 towers at one time. And the power does not get split up, because I've been asked that before. It's just 5,000 at one, 5,000 at another. And that can really swing the game back in your favor, especially if you can hit a board wipe card, or just attack all their stuff, and then just swing with a Destroyer card. They can put you right back in the game very quickly. And then, last but not least at the moment, there's a couple more, but this in blue. There's Guardian, which is really important for the game. Guardian says, exhaust this card to make an attacking unit attack this one instead. So there's 2 ways to attack when you go into combat, which is at any time. You exhaust your unit and declare attack on target unit. You can only attack said unit if it's already exhausted, or with the keyword targeting attack or target attack. Target attack allows you to attack a standing unit. But in like Keyforge and Force of Will and also Dragon Ball Z, you can only attack otherwise if it's exhausted. Now, it's important to know that if James declared an attack on if this had target attack and he attacked here at choosing my Guardian, I can still choose to activate my Guardian effect. That's for different kinds of decks. They get different kind of effects. But then there's one more thing on this card. It says Ruined. Ruined is a state-based effect of whenever anything is destroyed or sacrificed. And what it does is there's generally not a May ability. Generally, they have to trigger it. I think there's very few May abilities. Like this one says, put a Golem of Devourment from your deck into play. So basically, he dies, and you go and get another one. He dies, you go and get another one. Now, there are other effects in the game, keyword effects, such as Shard Drain, that's in the blue. And basically, that's you put a shard from your field onto the bottom of your deck, your bottom of your shard deck, and then an ability activates with the following text. Generally, Shard Drain is not of one ability. It'll have different text each time, but it's still the same cost. And other than that, I really can't think of any more at the moment. There could be more. I don't think I'm missing anything too much, though. There's also gray cards. Gray cards, you can play any amount in your deck. Like Twilight Knight. Twilight Knight right now is at the peak of the meta. He has Destroyer and he has Arrive. And so like whenever he comes onto the board, he destroys target unit with Guardian. And he gains Quickness. Quickness is another keyword that I forgot to go over, which I can get to go over now. What Quickness does is it's haste in Magic. So there's an important thing in this game. The first turn you play a unit, it has Summoning Sickness. You cannot use any Exhaust ability. You can use a Sacrifice ability. If it's a keyword ability that requires you to attack or to exhaust on your turn, you cannot use it while under Summoning Sickness unless it states otherwise. The only way that you can attack first turn is if a unit has Quickness, which also his Spirit. Let me see. The Corona, the Fire Spirit, allows you to do whenever you use its Soul Burst ability. So your spirits usually have a once per turn ability that do different things that kind of help you get through the game, but they have a one-time use Soul Burst. It's called Soul Burst, right? It's called Soul Burst. And the fire one allows you to flip him face down and target unit gains Quickness. So his deck can get really scary. I can have no towers left open or just one, and he needs 2 attacks to get through me. He gets a Soul Burst and just in my whole everything. But yeah, guys, this has been Argent Saga. This has been a little tutorial on just kind of keywords and what everything kind of looks like, the kind of premise of what things do. The next video that you guys should see is a game between me and James, my black-green deck versus his green-red deck, and we'll just see who comes out on top. Thank you for stopping in. This is Maul from Jackalmen Games with Fortune.
We hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click the link below to join our Jackalmen Games Discord channel, where you can be a part of this amazing community. If you'd like to support Jackalmen Games, click the link below to check out our Patreon. See you guys there.